We're in the section of Beaver Achiever where you're going to start using loops. When you get to number 11, you can see we're getting a hint again. So we look for the little hands to help us. They're saying drag this repeat block, and these are repeat blocks. We call them loops. They're for when you want to repeat something. Now they're showing us to drag the drop, and it goes inside. What this says in your code is 3 times you're going to drop. It's the same thing as if you did this, which you've done before. So this says repeat 3 times. Now, you see how it says 3, and they already had it say 3? In the beginning, they're going to set this for you. And then they're going to stop setting the number for you. And all of a sudden, it's going to say repeat 1 time. But you can change it just by clicking it to be any number. So we're going to start using loops. And from now on, whenever Beaver Achiever expects you to use loops and you don't, you will get 1 star. I'll show you that on the next one. So here I have another one, and you can see they already set that, but remember we can change it. But I'll show you the solution I put. So if I forget to use a loop and I do this, I'm going to get 1 star. And you know you are not supposed to move on if you only get 1 star. Here's a clue that you should be using a repeat block. Do you see how it says use 1 move block? That doesn't mean tell the beaver to move only 1 time. It means you should only use 1 block. So let me show you what that would look like. By the way, when you need to separate, you have to pull from the bottom. So if I wanted to take out this move block and I take it, it's going to take the whole thing. So I would have to separate them, then take it. But since I'm just taking the drop, I'm going to move that down. So I'm going to take all 4 of those and get rid of them. Put my repeat 4 times, and now I'm only using 1 move block. So they're not saying only tell the beaver to move 1 time. They're saying only use 1 block. Anytime they tell you that, it's a hint that you need to be using loops. And yes, what? Ha! 1, 2, 3. I went the wrong way. I do that all the time. I don't know if you make that mistake, but sometimes I grab the wrong one. It's a good thing to be aware of. That's why testing as you go is important. All right, so let's jump ahead to some other ways that we're going to use loops. So here, the first thing I want my beaver to do is move. So in the last one, we moved first, and that went in a loop. This time, I'm moving, and then I'm gonna, what? That's not gonna work. Let's take that back. This time, I'm gonna move 1 and then drop. So let's think about this, because this is where a good testing strategy comes in. When you're doing, you can put more than 1 block inside the repeat loop. So we're going to want to tell the beaver to move over 1 and then drop. What I like to do is test that I'm going to get the first one filled to make sure I've got it right. And I did. We filled the first one. So I don't need a hint. If I said to the beaver, do that again, it would fill the next one. And then do it again, it would fill the next one. So that tells me these 2 work for my loop, because it's hard to figure out how to fix loops sometimes when it's repeating. So I'm going to put them inside of the loop, which says 3 times, move over 1, then drop. The key thing I always ask myself is, what do I want the beaver to do first? Make sure that's in your loop first if it needs to be in the loop. So sometimes we will have things like this where the beaver has to move over and then drop. and repeat both of those things. Let's look at another way you might be using loops. So this one has kind of a mixture. I can see I need to move over. And I'm going to show this one. If I tell the beaver to move over 2 times, 1, 2, and then I start my loop, which is drop 2 and then move, drop 2 and then move, I'll fill it. But you'll notice I will get 2 stars. Now 2 stars are perfectly okay. You used loops properly, you solved the problem. That's what the stars are for. Are you using the correct skills and did you complete the challenge? When you get 2 stars, it's because you could do it another way using fewer blocks. If you want to aim for that, you totally can, but you don't have to. But I want to show you how we can get that. So here I have the beaver move 2 times. I'm going to change the way I think. And Beaver Achiever is going to do this. They want you to stretch your thinking. So if first I just have the beaver move over 1, now I could say to the beaver, move, drop, drop. It's a super small change, but my loop before said drop, drop, move. I'm going to move that up. So I'm going to say move over 1. Then the loop starts. Move over 1, drop 2, move over 1, drop 2, move over 1, drop 2. It's a really small change, but it uses fewer blocks. Is it correct the first way I had it? Absolutely. This is just another way. So the reason that Beaver Achiever sometimes says, hey, to get 3 stars, use fewer blocks, is to try to get you to stretch your brain. You can decide if you want to stretch your brain and try to figure it out or not. All right, let's take a look at one more, another way we're going to use loops. And I want to take a moment while I'm here. So currently, we have videos to help you with numbers 24 through 40. Although I don't know why 36 doesn't have any stars, but it should be there. So if you get stuck after number 21, if you get stuck on 24 or higher, there are individual videos that can help you, but we'll learn about those another time. For now, I just want us to take a look at this, because sometimes we're going to use loops in all different ways. So notice here, it says repeat 1 time. So many times when Beaver Achiever switches to repeat 1 time, people then just start putting 10 repeat blocks. Well, that defeats the purpose. So the first thing I need the beaver to do is move. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put my repeat block and say 5 times, move that way. Now, it's a really good idea to test them. Mostly because it's super easy to miscount or accidentally grab the wrong block or anything. So it's just good, like, okay, that works. You saw earlier in the video, I accidentally grabbed the wrong block. I know how to write this code. It was an oops. This makes it easier to catch those. Saves a lot of frustration. So let me show you the other reason why it's really good to test as you go. Plus, if you're stuck, put in 1 or 2 blocks, run it, and then say, so now that the beaver's sitting right here, this is the other thing I like. I can ask myself, what do I want the beaver to do now? Instead of trying to picture it in my head, I see the beaver right there. So right here, I want the beaver to drop 3. So I know I'm going to put another repeat underneath, and it's going to say 3, and I'm going to have it drop 3. So these are 2 different repeats. And if we were talking, I would say take 5 steps and then drop 3 logs. But the computer needs it to be in a little bit of a different language. That's all coding is learning to speak the language of computers. So now I'm like, okay, the first loop works, the second loop works. Now I can see the next thing the beaver's gonna do from right here, move over one, love the little turtle, and then drop one. And again, for me, it makes it easier to see it so I don't have to keep it in my head. So it's gonna be move over one, then drop one. I'm gonna put move over one and drop one. Now here's why, one of many reasons why this is helpful. Once you start using loops, sometimes it's harder to catch your error because there's repeating steps in the middle. But also, if I make a mistake, like let's say I grab the wrong block like I did earlier, because it's super easy to do. The cool thing is I know my error is just gonna be one of these last two blocks, so it's super easy to find. I'll put the right one back. So testing along the way is what real programmers do. Sometimes ours are short, so we might not feel like we need to test, but as soon as you start to get multiple changing steps, you're gonna wanna test. It saves a lot of frustration. It's kind of like how when we're typing something, it can help us catch our spelling errors as we type. Okay, so you're gonna be working on loops. You want to remember to aim, you always need 2 or 3 stars before you can move on. Sometimes I accidentally move on when I meant to click go back. If you do that, all you have to do is go up to your map and just go back to whatever number. And also there are help videos available if you get stuck, because they're gonna keep stretching your brain to use loops in new ways. So take your time, be patient, and have fun.